So it is that time of the week where it's my weekly championship score predictions. We've got match day 23 this weekend. After this weekend, we would have officially reached halfway of the championship, which is absolutely madness. I can't believe how quickly the season's going. I'm going to leave a quick poll right there, and I'm going to leave a few more poll questions as well. What do you make of your team's season so far? Are you happy? Are you not happy? Or are you saying we're meeting expectations? And also let me know, what kind of position does your club need to improve in the January transfer window? And what kind of players do you want the club to sign that you're currently linked with? Let me know in the comments down below. I might consider doing a transfer talk championship video in the future, by the way. As always, if you like what you see, you want to see more championship content from me, please make sure you do give the video a like, share the channel so we can grow together as a community, and to subscribe if you haven't done already, or if you're new around here. All of that will be fantastically appreciated. We've got a lot of games to go through in this championship weekend. I will warn you in advance, I am very hungover, but I'm going to remain myself in doing this analysis. Without any further ado, let's hop into some of these games for match day 23. So we start off with Friday night's game, Middlesbrough versus Stoke. This for me has the potential ability for it being a 0-0 draw, because both of these sides for me don't really score many goals, with Middlesbrough being the lowest scorers in the league. Stoke recently, I think at home they've been starting to score more goals, but away from home I'm still not very convinced whether they're going to replicate that fantastic form they showed at home against Luton when they won by 3-0. That for me was their best performance in the championship season so far. Middlesbrough had a very disappointing defeat against Swansea, and I will say they actually did very well to compete for as long as they did against Swansea. It was not until Brown got sent off where they lost the momentum of the game. With Stoke, they played out a very boring stalemate with Reading. I'm going to be blunt and honest with that. They were at home as well, so it was a little bit disappointing on Stoke's perspective that they didn't manage to use the home advantage count. Away from home, I'm not sure how I feel about Stoke in this game. Middlesbrough actually beat Stoke at the Riverside last year. And with Middlesbrough so far, they actually have an alright home record. They are undefeated in their last 4 home games. In terms of Stoke's away record, they've lost their last 2 in a row, but they've only had 3 away games with Michael O'Neill in charge. Of course, the first one being the 4-2 away victory against Barnsley. I can see Middlesbrough playing with a little bit more confidence. I think not having Paddy McNair in the team is going to be a huge blow. They've failed to appeal his red card. He'll be out for a couple of games, which I think will be a huge blow. I think it's a really important player for them. With Stoke, they do have really important players. I think some players are being linked away in a move in January, which I think is needed. I think the whole squad needs revamping. In terms of predicting this game, I'm tempted to give Middlesbrough being at home. I might say 1-0 Middlesbrough, but a part of me in the back of my mind thinks this will be another stalemate. But I'll stay positive and I'll say this will be a 1-0 home victory to Middlesbrough, although Stoke could shock people. Next up is Cardiff versus Preston. Cardiff, you would feel they've actually turned a corner around this season. Since Neil Harris coming in, there's just been a brand new mentality within the squad. They're playing with the potential that I expected them when they got dropped down from the Premier League. They're playing with a lot more grit. They're not playing the best type of football, it's clear to see that, but they're playing in a way that they're able to win every game, or at least salvage something from the game. And you saw it against Leeds. They were 3-0 down, dead and buried, but the grit and determination and the brilliance, I have to say, from Lee Tomlin, I think he's been a really good player for Cardiff so far this season, managed to get Cardiff back for 3-3. Could be a very important result in the promotion race. With Preston, they are having a really strong season, a much stronger season than they tend to have in the Championship. They are third at the moment, so they're actually the best of the rest so far. Obviously, Leeds and West Brom are having a little bit of a lead against the 22 other Championship clubs. One thing to concern about Preston, though, they have lost their last 3 away games with an aggregate of 7-0. So they do not have a really good away record, and it's surprising to see them as high as 3rd, actually, with that away record, actually. And Cardiff at home as well, they've got one of the best home records in the league. And under Neil Harris, who's implemented something new to the squad, for his tactics in terms of who he brings on, the formation as well, I think overall, the overall play of Cardiff, it just seems so much more fresh. It looks more organised, and I think the players are getting a lot more joy out of it. For Preston, undoubtedly, Alex Neil will want Preston to give a performance, especially if they want to try and reduce the gap between Leeds. But I don't see it. I think Cardiff will win by 2-0, and I think this will be a fantastic performance by the team in Wales. However, with Preston, you just don't know, but they still have a few injuries, and I think Cardiff will take advantage of that, and with having a strong home record, I'm going to say a 2-0 home victory. Next up is Fulham versus Leeds. I am very, very excited for this game. This could have a really important say on Fulham's position in the table, and it could be a very important say whether West Brom could pull away, or teams like Preston, Sheffield Wednesday and Brentford could catch up. With Fulham, they're having a bit of a rocky patch, I think. In terms of their home form, they've actually won 3 of their last 6 home games. But they have struggled to pick up their form with 3 defeats in a row so far. So they need to try and rectify that. With Leeds, they are undefeated in over 8 games now. And what looked like to be a dodgy patch of their away form in around October time when they lost to Millwall, they didn't manage to win an away game for their next 2 games. However, after that, since beating Luton by 2-1, which was not a particularly good performance, they've won their next 2 away games. So it seems that Leeds have fixed it in terms of winning away from home as well. If you look at the form book, you would expect Leeds to win, but would you believe that Leeds have not beaten Fulham in their last 6 meetings? 5 of their last 6 meetings have ended in a draw. So this is actually quite interesting. I could see a draw happening in this game. I mean, with Fulham, they do have a lot of quality in the attack. And of course, they've got a very steady midfield. However, I just can't not back Leeds. For me, I think they'll get a 1-0 away victory. I actually think Fulham will be very frustrated. And even though they looked defensively very frail against Cardiff, it was very uncharacteristic of them. I think Bielsa will be very keen to really make sure the defence is tight for this game, especially with the attacking flair that Fulham do have. And with Fulham, I think when you're in a losing streak like that, it's difficult to have get away with it, especially when you play against Leeds. They've got one of the best away records in the league as well. I cannot back anything else than a Leeds win, so I'll say 1-0. Let me know what you think in the comments. So next up, we've got Huddersfield versus Nottingham Forest. Both of these teams not in a very strong run of form at all. In terms of Huddersfield's home form, they have really struggled. It's actually been away from home where they've been better. In terms of their home form, they've not won in their last 3 games. With Nottingham Forest, I mean, I can't explain what's happened with Nottingham Forest at the moment. They have not won in their last 4 games. And you would argue that they had a very embarrassing 4-0 home defeat against Sheffield Wednesday, where in the first half they were completely played out the park in terms of clinical ability. They did have chances, I'll give them that, but they never looked like scoring, which is a really big problem. In terms of both of these sides' head-to-head record, Huddersfield have a very strong record against Nottingham Forest. So you could back Huddersfield. I mean, they definitely do have the quality. Under the Cowley brothers, they have improved in terms of their performance, even though they've hit a rock patch of form. They have faced a few difficult games as well, Huddersfield, but winning may really be on their minds, especially as the relegation zone is really, really tight this year. With Nottingham Forest, for me, they have to win. They've dropped out of the top 6. They need a response. However, I think Huddersfield, I don't quite see it. I'm so tempted to give Nottingham Forest a 2-1 away victory, but I've changed my mind last minute, and I'm going to say a 1-1 draw. I think Huddersfield will be resilient enough to keep Nottingham Forest at bay. And whether I think Nottingham Forest will have their chances, I think they will, but I don't think it'll be enough to win. So I'm going to say a 1-1 draw. So that's how we've got Hull versus Birmingham, 14th versus 15th of the table. So both these sides are having very, very similar seasons. With Hull, they can look absolutely outstanding, or they can look absolutely void of ideas. You just don't know what you're going to get with Hull. In terms of their home form though, they have won their last 2 home games. With Birmingham, they've not in a great run of form. They've lost their last 2 games. However, with their away form, if you look at it, they are undefeated in their last 3, with their last game being a victory against Reading, which was a fantastic game. Hull's strengths are the counter-attack. They've got so much pace going forward with Bowen and Grzycki down the wings. They've got a lot of quality and I think a lot of options as well in midfield as well. Hull slightly edged Birmingham in terms of their head-to-head record, which I can understand. Birmingham, they can shock Hull. I think they can, because actually what I saw against West Brom, especially at home at St Andrews, they were absolutely amazing. It was a complete change of a performance that I saw when they played against Queen's Park Rangers, where they were completely void of scoring against this Queen's Park Rangers side at all. With them winning their last game away from home, it's encouraging, although they do concede quite a fair bit away from home as well. With Hull, despite not winning in their last 2 games, I think they will have confidence, especially with a strong home form. I'll slightly back Hull for a 2-1 home victory, but it'll be a very close game. I mean, they're very close in the Championship table for a reason. Next up, we have Luton Town versus Swansea City. For me, Luton really need to start winning at home. I've said this many times in the video, but if they don't win their home games and pick up points there, they're going to really struggle. However, for them, they are facing a Swansea side that have a very strong away record. That is what's got Swansea as high as they are on the table, because home form is really inconsistent for Swansea. Luton so far have been a little bit of a hot and cold team. I think that's the best way I can describe them. Going forward, they look absolutely terrific. There have been a few situations where they've struggled to score goals. However, what I've seen from them in terms of attacking wise, they do deserve to be up in this division, in my opinion. But defensively, they just shoot themselves in their own foot sometimes. Sometimes they just do a really silly back pass. They have a lapse of concentration between the goalkeeper and the defender. And that's normally how the game is lost for Luton Town. So a little bit of a strange side, but when they get it right, they can really get it right. They've already blown a few teams away from their really strong attacking threat as well. With Swansea, well, we all know what we're going to expect with Swansea. They've got a lot of quality in Andre Ayew. He'll be heavily influenced in terms if they can score. Selina's very important as well. That whole Swansea team, in terms of their midfield and attack, is very talented. And you'd feel with the squad they've got, you'd be surprised why they're not higher up the table. We've always considered, in fact, their head-to-head record is split even 3 wins out of 6 in terms of their last 6 meetings. I am tempted to say that this will be a draw because I think Luton will be resilient. However, I think Swansea will edge this by 2-1. I think this will be a very tight game, and in fact, a very end-to-end game. I think Luton and Swansea will have a lot of chances, but I think Swansea will just about edge it because I think they do have a little bit more defence stability. So I'm going to say a 2-1 away victory to Swansea. Next up, we have Millwall versus Barnsley. And all I can say is that Gary Murray has turned a corner with Millwall, like with Neil Harris has done with Cardiff. Both of them are now actually performing and are picking up points. And at home, they've had a very strong home record. They are undefeated in over 6 games. Picking up 12 points out of those 6 games as well. So that is frankly extraordinary to me. Barnsley, however, they have not won an away game so far this season, with their last 4 away games ending as a defeat. If Barnsley need to survive, they need to start trying to pick up away points and do it in a bit of fortunate circumstances almost. But if you look at their head-to-head, Barnsley have a very strong record against Millwall actually. So maybe it is written for the stars for Barnsley to try and get an away win now. But Millwall right now, for me, look absolutely terrific. In terms of their passing, they don't play a lot from open play. They really use the set pieces. But what they do it well. I'll be very interested how Gerard Struber actually sets up for this game. And I think so far there have been glimpses of Barnsley showing competitiveness. You don't want one team to be the whipping boys, and what they are doing really well is that they are competing, and they're showing it in their last 2 home games as well, beating Hull and beating QPR, which has helped them give in a somewhat respectable position, even though they're still rock bottom in the Championship. If they can start this confidence gain wins away from home, I say Barnsley could have a chance, because I do think they do have a lot of attacking quality. It's just been a defence where they've lost Ethan Pinnock and Liam Lindsay in summer. I think it has heavily affected them, in my opinion, and they've shoved a lot of youngsters to try and fill in for that. For me, I might predict this game to be 2-0 Millwall, but I won't be surprised if I'm wrong in Barnsley trying to shock the world, because they do have a strong record against Millwall actually. But for me, I think Millwall are just too strong at the moment. They're in a strong run of form, good home record, and I think they'll win by 2-0. We now have the London derby with Queen's Park Rangers versus Charlton. Both of these sides, I wouldn't say, are in particularly strong runs of form. I mean, with Queen's Park Rangers, they were undefeated in 3 games recently. However, they have lost heavily to Barnsley by 5-3 recently. So you'd almost argue that they have lost that kind of momentum that they got. With Charlton, though, they are in a very sticky situation. They have not won in 10 games now, which is scary for me, in my opinion. With Charlton, they've got to be very careful. They really do, because you could argue that they were overperforming at the start of the season. They were a complete breath of fresh air, and I think they still are in the Championship. But for me, they need to try alter a few things. They need to try kill games more and not concede as many goals in final minutes of the game. They did it against Huddersfield when they lost, and they did it against Hull when they failed to win and drew instead. So they need to kill the game off for 90 plus stoppage minutes and not just for the 90 minutes. So that's what they need to do. The quality is there, and that's what's frustrating about Charlton. They've still got the quality. It's not like they're not performing for the manager. I think that's an absolute lie. I think they are absolutely performing their hardest for Lee Bowyer. With Queen's Park Rangers, that last home game was a great win against Preston, their first clean sheet of the season as well. However, following from that, they had not won in their last 4 home matches before that win. So you could argue they're having a bit of an inconsistent patch in terms of their home form. And Queen's Park Rangers just have been a side where they have lost a little bit of momentum lately. They are a little bit of an inconsistent side to predict, a little bit similar to Hull. I can see this result going either or. I can see Charlton winning, I can see Queen's Park Rangers winning, but I think I'm going to level it up, and I'm going to say this is going to be a 2-2 draw. I see goals in this game. I think Charlton will have a lot of quality. I think they'll really try and pressure through this Queen's Park Rangers defence because it has looked shaky. However, with the brilliant quality of Eberici Eze, Bright Samuel, Naki Wells, Jordan Hugo, I think Queen's Park Rangers will be able to deal with it. So I will say that this London derby ends as a 2-2 draw. Next up is Reading versus Derby. In terms of these two teams, they're not in the strongest run of form, with Derby not winning in their last 5 matches, and also with Reading not being able to win in their last 3. So both of these sides are probably going to be a little bit low on confidence. With Reading, they have lost their last 2 home games, which was against Leeds and Birmingham respectively. With Derby, they have not won away from home in their last 9 games, losing 5 games in a row. So their away record has been a real problem at this stage of the season for Derby. Of course, in the lead up to this game, Wayne Rooney is now going to be more closely involved with Derby. He'll officially join as a player coach in around January time, which I'll be very interested in how he manages to deal with Derby in the second half of the Championship season. But you can't help to feel that Wayne Rooney may feel that he's got a little bit of a big job in his hands. It seems to me, in terms of the style, it's there. It's a really intense style of football, and in fact, it's very unique for what I can find. But Derby players, they make so many mistakes in midfield. They give the ball away so many times. And that's ultimately why they don't score many. And that's why they concede so many silly goals. You know, when they get it right, Derby can look fantastic. But if they can't get it right, they can look really, really exposed. With Reading, under Mark Bowen, he's hit his rockiest patch as manager. It's important now that this losing streak doesn't get longer and longer and longer, because it could mean Reading can start dropping back down to the relegation zone because they're not far away. Looking at both of these teams' runs of forms and a head-to-head record, I'm going to say that this is going to be a 1-1 draw. I can see both these sides cancelling each other out. I don't see Reading winning with the quality that they do have in John Swift and Ejaria, obviously, but Derby, they do have quality, but whether they're going to be able to perform at their best, which they haven't done in quite recent games, we'll have to wait and see. But I think both these sides are capable enough of cancelling each other out, and they'll get a 1-1 draw out of it. Sorry about the lighting, I've just changed it. Hopefully this will be a bit better for you. But now we have West Brom versus Brentford, a really big game. If Brentford can win this game, they could really solidify themselves to be into the playoffs, and can be for quite a lot of the season. But they are facing a very tough West Brom side who do love to play at home. In their last 2 home matches, they've won on an aggregate of 9-2. So they can score plenty of goals at home, and they don't concede all that many either. And what Bilic has done, he's added such a fantastic impact to the squad. They're playing under a brand new philosophy, and the players are really abiding to it, and you can only give respect for the manager for doing that. In terms of Brentford, they have turned a corner recently. They've been on a pretty strong run of form, but in their terms of their away record, they have lost 2 games in a row to Blackburn and Sheffield Wednesday respectively. So the omens are not looking great for Brentford in terms of West Brom, and especially in their last 6 meetings, Brentford have not beaten West Brom. So I think West Brom will be up for this game, but I don't think it's going to be easy because Brentford do have some quality players. Raya in goal, I think, has been fantastic. Janssen, I think, has been a good addition in centre-back. Their midfielders as well. I mean, Jensen, I thought he had a fantastic game against Fulham. But with West Brom, their options are ridiculous. I think Dean Garner's injured, if I remember right, which might suck for them. But they've still got Phillips, they've still got Charlie Austin, who's just the impact sub of the season so far. He's been absolutely incredible. Even in defence, they've got the likes of Ajay, Hegazi, Sam Johnston in goal, which I think all have been really, really positive influences to this West Brom side in terms of being very defensive, tight, compact, and being a strong unit. And I think for me, I think West Brom will edge this Brentford side by maybe 2-0. Maybe Brentford could score in this game, so it would be a bit bold of me not predicting them to score. But for me, I think West Brom are going to deal with them quite comfortably. However, if Brentford score very early, I could see Brentford beating West Brom, in my opinion, despite how good they have been at the Hawthorns. They've got a really long unbeaten run at the Hawthorns, actually, West Brom. So it's not going to be easy to get any points away from home in terms of Brentford, but it can be possible with this side because I think they're a very talented squad. But West Brom, I think, will deal with them comfortably by 2-0. Next up, we have Sheffield Wednesday versus Bristol City. Believe it or not, a couple of games ago, Bristol City were many points, around 4 or 6 points ahead of Sheffield Wednesday in the table, comfortably in the playoffs. But now, believe it or not, Sheffield Wednesday have overtaken Bristol City in the table and are now 5th. So it is currently the team narrowly in the playoffs playing against the team fighting to get into the playoffs. So this should be a fantastic game on Sunday. Sheffield Wednesday have been another team that have turned a corner with a new manager in Gary Monk. He's done absolute wonders with Sheffield Wednesday. He really, really has, in terms of offering more intensity, more ambition, more creativity going forward, and also being defensively organised as well. I've been really impressed in terms of Gary Monk's tactics and the approach he's had for this whole entire season. I think he's done a fantastic job and pretty underrated as a manager in my eyes. Sheffield Wednesday, though, have a very strong home record. With Bristol City, they have got the joint best away record of the whole league. So this is really going to be interesting in terms of which team goes out on top. To be precise, in Sheffield Wednesday's strong home form, they have not lost a home game in their last 7 home games. So they're in a very, very good position in terms of their home games as well. So I'm really struggling to call this game. Bristol City have had a few questionable away performances to stick to mind, with West Brom, which, to be honest, I think 4-1 was a little bit harsh for them because they did create a lot of chances. And Luton, that really sticks out as being probably their worst away performance so far this year. But they have had other really good away performances, like picking up 3 points against Fulham. I'm really struggling to call this game. Sheffield Wednesday do have a slightly stronger record than Bristol City, so part of me is thinking I should edge Sheffield Wednesday. But I think this will be a 1-1 draw. I think eventually, in terms of the amount of shots Bristol City concede, they will concede first, but I think Bristol City, with their grit and their strong away form that's so far this season, I think they'll salvage something from this. And finally, to end this weekend's predictions of Championship football, we have got Blackburn versus Wigan. 2 teams in very, very different runs of form. Blackburn are in a very strong run of form, being undefeated in their last 6 games, whereas with Wigan, they've not won in their last 5. So it could be a very typical championship match where Wigan get a shock victory and completely defy the odds and throw formbook out the window. But let's think about this carefully. Blackburn not losing in the last 6 home games, but Wigan have not won away from home so far this season. So they're one of the few teams left that have not won an away game. So they are really against the odds against Blackburn here. I think with the confidence that Blackburn are in and the momentum, I think that will carry them across against Wigan. Although Wigan at times have had good performances, but they've conceded a lot of late goals. And very, very similar for Charlton. They've got to try and eradicate that as soon as they can if they want to try and get a chance to try and climb up the table, because they are 23rd at the moment. And if they don't turn potentially draws into wins, or potential wins into draws, or potential draws into losses, they are going to really struggle to pick up points, and they can start staying there, and they can lose a bit of sight of survival, and they will not want that before the midway stage of this championship season. So in terms of predicting this game, it could be very ugly. Blackburn could completely blow Wigan out of the park, for Wigan can have a really positive performance. You just really don't know. It's one of those games that could really blow out proportion and just throw the form book out the window. But for me, I'm going to say Blackburn are going to win by 3-1. I think Blackburn will be comfortable. I think Wigan will have their goal, and I think they'll have a few moments of joy. But I think overall, I think Blackburn will win. But it's a very interesting game. I'm glad this is the pick for the Monday Night Football. But there you have it, guys. That'll wrap it up for my championship predictions this weekend. Do you agree with me or do you disagree with my predictions? Let me know in the comments down below. What predictions are you predicting for your team this weekend? Let me know in the comments down below. If you get one right, of course, you get a shout out and you go into Lex's Hall of Fame. Remember, we've got 4 members so far, 4 different members as well, which is quite remarkable. Let's hope to get some more members at the end of this weekend. But that follows the end of this video. If you guys liked what you see and you want to see more championship content, please make sure you do give the video a like, share the channel if you haven't done already, we can grow a community together, and to subscribe if you haven't done already, or if you're new around here, all of that would be fantastically appreciated. Thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are legendary if you saw the end of this video, and as always, take care.